Friends, Namaste and good evening. Swagatam to our Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channels, which we have this program every Sunday at 8 p.m. for viewers across the globe. And as you know, nearly 125 countries viewers watch this program. I'm happy to inform you that last Sunday's program of Dr. Swamy and Rajiv Malhotra attracted a viewership of 90,000 plus viewers watching the show on the anti-Hindutva conferences that were being organized in the US universities. So today we have another interesting topic for discussion. The topic is the release of a book. The book's name is Historical Context of Sri Ram Janmabhoomi, written by Shri Abhas Verma. Abhas Verma is a software engineer from BITS Mesra University, having total 10 years experience in the IT sector, which includes working for multinational companies. He loves writing. As a child, few of his articles were published in the newspapers. In college, he wrote a book on the Third Battle of Panipat, which was published in 2013. He passed out from college in the year 2011. After he wrote a few history related articles for a Mumbai based newspaper, he has had a vast following on Facebook and also has more than 1 million views on Quora. Some of his recent books are, which has been always already shown in our promo, is The Third Battle of Panipat, Maratha Warriors of Panipat. Third book is Maratha Warriors of the Maratha War of Independence, from the death of Sambhaji to the death of Aurangzeb. And the fourth book is Bal Thackeray, Godfather of Mumbai and the Rise of the Shiv Sena. So today we have Dr. Subramanian Swamy, our founder patron of Virat Hindustan Sangam, who will be releasing the book shortly, and he will be discussing with our young author about the contents of this book and what made him write the book. As you all know, he is a IT sector professional, but he found and loves writing on historical events, and it is really commendable that he has written these books on the various aspects of history to project the correct history, and this is one of our main vision of Virat Hindustan Sangam. So without wasting much time, I will now request Dr. Swamy to start the discussion. But before that, I have to thank my co-host Ramesh Swamy and our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Vishal Mehta, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Rakesh Gadgi, and today Vijendra Shetty from Mangalore is assisting us in putting this program together. Over to Dr. Swamy.
Thank you. Thank you, Jagdish. Welcome to, I can easily call him Dr. Verma because each of his books, I think, can get a PhD by itself. But anyway, Shri Verma ji, we welcome you. I have just, to save time, opened the package in which the book came, and this is what the book looks like, and it's a historical context of Sri Ram Janmabhoomi, and it is almost 500 pages, I think 482 or something like that, if I'm not wrong. And therefore, no, it's what 320 pages, and that's a well-sized book. And it's a interesting thesis that he has. I mean, somebody can say, why there are so many books already? Even I have written a book on it, and so on. What's so special that we are having this program with Shri Verma today? Is because he has got an interesting angle which he has developed in his book, and I'll just read out what he says about that new interesting angle, and we'll ask him what to explain that, and then after he has finished explaining, we'll ask him questions, and if there are any questions in the audience also, that can also be taken up. In his book, he says, of all the books that I have read in relation to Ram Janmabhoomi dispute, the aim of the author is to pass a judgment. Nobody has tried to understand the issue on the basis of history associated with it. Now, since the highest court of our country has stated, etc., and then he goes on to say that it is pointless to find out and to prove whom the disputed land belonged to, but a detailed study of history of Ayodhya with authentic facts and figures will give a new dimension to the opinion of the people about Ayodhya dispute. It is not fruitful to discuss the historicity of Rama and the identity and antiquity of Ayodhya. So he is saying that the traditional approach that is there so far is not correct, and so therefore I would he has about 11 chapters and 5 appendices, and so therefore rather than my explaining what is in the book, anyway, I got the book very recently, so I haven't been able to read it in detail, but I would like the author, Shri Verma, to tell us in what way this book is original, different, and as he has himself explained that it's instead of going through who built the Babri Masjid or why was the Babri Masjid built, etc., all these questions, to go to what he considers the historicity of Ram Janmabhoomi. So, Shri Verma ji, welcome to you, and please go ahead and speak as freely as you want for half an hour.
Welcome, sir. So, sir, actually, this book contains the medieval period history, like the Firoz Shah Tughlaq. He was opposed in Jaunpur. There is a Deval Atala mosque in Jaunpur. That used to be a temple, and there was a resistance to the for this Firoz Shah Tughlaq by the local people. That is not mentioned by any guy. And like Jaunpur is not very far from Ayodhya, so similar resistance would have been offered to other sultans also. And so, like in the first chapter also, there is a mention of Suhail Dev. So Suhail Dev is also like he is also ignored in most of the books. Now few of the authors are writing book on Suhail Dev, but most info related to Ayodhya he is ignored. The tomb of or the dargah of this guy Salar Masud. It's located near Barabanki. It's not very far from Ayodhya. So like there must be some relation with that thing also. And apart from that, there is a mound in Ayodhya that is called Sahjuran Katila. That is like so the people associate it with Sahjuran Gauri, and there is a temple over there. So like it's not possible that they can create a they can destroy a temple and leave the Ram Janmabhoomi place alone. So there is a possibility that it was attacked long time back, even before Babur it was demolished. I think Dr. Nath has claimed a theory like that. And apart from that, there was a Pathan ruler in Ayodhya. His name was Firmoli Pathan. So many of the authors have tried to prove that Firmoli Pathan was very popular in Ayodhya and all these things. He was loved by the Hindus, but we don't find any mention even in the text that they quote. So that is also pointed out in this book. And yeah. Then few of the authors have tried to prove that Babur was a very secular person, and then he has praised some temples architectures in Gwalior. So, but if you see his other these things, other happenings. Like he's not a very, what can he say? He calls Rana Sangha infidel and cursed person, and he calls names with the other Hindus. So I don't think that he was a very secular person, and even like. If he was a very secular person, then he could have created a temple or something like that. And then yeah, then the fourth chapter is Ayurveda during Mughals. During the rule of Akbar and all, there is Akbar was a very learned person. He wrote during his time few gadgets were created that contains all the caste that is there in Ayodhya and all the district, and but there is no mention of Babri Masjid, even which is claimed that his grandfather built. If his grandfather had built that place, that someone would have mentioned that at least that place, or they would have mentioned that a huge Muslim population was there, or some dargah or something like must be there. But that is also doubtful. Then there are I have quoted few foreigners who visited during Jahangir and Shah Jahan, and then I have quoted as there was a Hindu temple of Shanti Das that was in somewhere in Gujarat. He was a Jain guy, and his temple was demolished, and then and it was a very nice temple. So Dara Shuko, who was then the Dara Shuko, who was the who was the prince at that time, he gave it back to the Hindus or the Jains, but it was not given in totality. The idols were kept and then confined with the payment. With the payment, it was released. So these things, like how they can claim that he's a very secular guy. Shahjahan was a very secular guy. These things I have questioned in my book. Then I have in the chapter 5 I have put the destructive policies of Aurangzeb, how he used to carry destructions in various provinces, and how he was very different from Dara Shuko. Dara Shuko was very secular kind of person. Like he translated not many Hindu books, Upanishads and all. And even Dara Shuko and Akbar he is called names by the Muslim chronicles. Many of the Muslim historians, they call Akbar and Dara Shuko as Hindu, but in fact they were not Hindus. But only they were the thing was that they were quite secular kind of people. Like they had interest both in Islam and as well in Hinduism. Like, that is okay, but but like if a person is like he is not demolishing the temples and then he is giving religious freedom to all, and that also for political reasons, maybe that might be the case. But you cannot call him a Hindu and then you can use curse words for him. Then after that, I have in the chapter 6 I put Ayodhya after Aurangzeb. So like when Aurangzeb administration Aurangzeb died, so like there was crumbling in the crisis in the Awadh region. Many of the Hindus got independent. Many of the local Rajputs, many of the local Kshatriyas, they they revolted, and then they created the independent provinces. Maybe at that time, most probably they might have started worshipping in that place also. That also have pointed it out. And then the Sadat Ali Khan, he gave many of the posts to Hindus. And then under Safdar that Hanuman temple was created in Ayodhya. So like that is also there in the chapter 7. Ujadollah and his descendants, uh, Asafudollah, they also created lot many temples, created many a lot, gave huge amount of money to the temples. But there was political reasons for that, because the Marathas at that time became very strong. At that time, like Hindu pilgrimage in that area started taking place. So like. This is also covered in the chapter 8. There a riot took place in Ayodhya, near to that in the for the this thing near Hanuman Gadi. They Muslims claim that some Hindus have encroached.
We have some technical difficulties. We'll be back soon.
Yeah, in Patna the electricity keeps going off. You see, so even Delhi it is happening, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed it doesn't happen in Delhi. Let me, in the gap, mention what he is trying to say. See, he says you have to look at the. Well, I mean, Ram Janmabhoomi is only a special case, but he's looking at a broad sense that don't paint the entire thing as a hostile, hostile kingdoms demolishing temples. There were exceptions, and these exceptions should be noted. Now, yes, go ahead, sir.
Abbas, you are back. Sorry, you can even use for the information of our viewers, even talk in Hindi also, because a lot of viewers from the north are watching this program today. So please continue. We had lost you.
Whichever he likes. The book is in English. That's why I said. Yeah.
So at that time, yeah, so there communal incident took place, and people claimed that Hindus have occupied few portions of Muslim mosque. So, and then that is totally covered. A huge riot took place. British has to intervene, and then the thing has to be resolved, and then. Uh, in the chapter 9 I have put the dispute during British administration, like how that is all, like how under British administration the railing was put to in the Ram Janmabhoomi, and like Hindus were separated from going inside the mosque. People were saying that before that they used to enter the mosque and pray, and lot many incidents like used to happen. People used to rub this camphor and all in the mosque. So like it was basically a temple before that. But when the British came over, like they separated from Hindus and the Muslims. Then in the chapters 10, I have discussed a topic hoax of British propaganda. I think many of the historians or many of the journalists are claiming that that Ram Janmabhoomi dispute was created by the British to separate the Hindus and the Muslims, or create a divide and rule policy. But if I have put it facts that this, because even before that, yeah, I have put many of the people who journeyed at that place, and they found that the dispute was there. Both Hindus and Muslims were praying in that place. Then in the chapter 11, I have discussed the question who built the Babri Masjid. So actually, nobody is able to state that who has particularly built the Babri Masjid. Some people say it is built by Babur. Some are saying that it is built by Aurangzeb, or someone is saying that the structure is very much similar to a Tughlaq period. Dr. R. Nath has said that it is very similar to a structure that is there, that was there during Tughlaq period. So that thing has been discussed. Then I have 5 appendices. First appendix is related to Bhar community. There is a community called Bhar community in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So the Bhar community used to be kings at that time. They were like Kshatriyas, and there must be many Kshatriyas communities which are currently classified as OBCs and SC and ST. But previously they must have been Kshatriyas. There is a clear proof of that thing. Especially mentioned this thing in my book. Not only Bhars, but many backward and scheduled castes of current days who claim to be Kshatriya Varna might have been Kshatriya rulers before Muslim rulers came to power. Even today, descendants of Tipu Sultan and other kings and queens who fought the British are in very poor condition. So like I have put that also in point. Then the second appendix contains the akharas of Ayodhya. There are many akharas in Ayodhya. There is Nirbani Akhara, Nirmohi Akhara. All these many of the Naga Sadhu used to fight for Shujat-Dawla. Few of the Naga Sadhus fought for Shujat-Dawla during his fight with the Pathans and during his fight with the third battle of Panipat. Then the third appendix is related to Khanzada community. There is a Khanzada community that Carnegie found, and they used to beat the people with Ram Ram. Patrick Carnegie writes, one of his colleagues wrote, between the Khanzada and the Hindus, almost no distinction can be drawn further. That the former says their prayers in the mosque and cut their coats to open from the right. The Khanzada refused to eat beef. They plastered their fireplace before cooking and very generally used brazen vessels. So, and the fourth appendix contains the Bhakti movement during medieval period. At the time of medieval period, most of our temples were destroyed. You don't find any 10th century temple in North India somewhere. So, like at that time, it was very difficult to perform the pujas and all. So, what the saints came with the idea of Bhakti movement at that time, so that you can stay at home and you can do the puja. Like Ramcharitmanas, it is written in Avadhi, which is not Sanskrit. It doesn't contain mantras. It contains shlokas. That also in Avadhi, which is the local language of people over there. And many of the people, saints of our Hindu religion, came from scheduled caste community. There is one person who wrote the biography of Tulsi Das, because he belonged to scheduled caste community. Even Valmiki, he also came from a
Yes,
scheduled.
Valmiki. Yeah, born in.
Yeah, many people. Like I have written multiple examples. There was one Taylor also. He was a saint in Hinduism, and I have also put Sufism also. Many of the Sufi period activities that was going on at that period. This line is I want to put. Another preacher of the Bhakti movement was Sant Namdev. He was a Maharashtrian, and his followers belonged to all castes and creeds, including a few Muslim converts to Hinduism. These belonged to the caste of tailors and flourished in the first half of 15th century. So there are multiple examples. So, and then the fifth appendix contains the report of archaeological survey of India that was presented to the court, and people can find that what was found in the archaeological survey. So this is the synopsis of my book. I think I've taken around 25 minutes.
Sure. Let me ask some questions to you. You have said in your preface, it is not fruitful to discuss the historicity of Rama and the identity and antiquity of Ayodhya. Yet your book is full of details about the historicity and antiquity. What did you exactly mean when you said that you should not discuss the historicity of Rama and identity?
Yeah, many of the books that I have read of Ayodhya, they start talking about Rajput period or Gupta period, where or even Lord Ram, that how he used to go and worship, how like how he used to live, how there was a castle and all these things that is there in there. There are multiple what can I say slokas they quote, and they say that Lord Rama was born there. So I have not put the history related to the existence of Lord Rama or birthplace of Lord Rama. I put the general Awadh region history, history of Barabanki, Sultanpur, and all this. Sultanpur was a Bhar place. Even in Ayodhya, many of the Bhar lords were ruling. They were rulers at that time. Even Alauddin Khilji, when he sent an army to overcome the Bhar, he gave them this thing title of Bhale Sultans.
Yeah. Well, let me put you a subsidiary question arising from what you just said. There's no doubt that there was a temple there before. At least faith of the people says that that is where the temple was, and that's where Ram was born. And faith cannot be questioned.
Yeah.
That is my main argument in the Supreme Court. That was my main, because when I entered the Supreme Court in this case, they were only talking about who does that area belong to. There was a Hindu party which said no, no, we are the trustees of that Ram temple, which was demolished, and then the Waqf board said no, no, this is Waqf property. I said what is important is the faith. The people of Hindus of India regarded that Ram was born there, and you cannot question it because that is faith. Similarly, the Christians believe that Christ was born in a place in Bethlehem. Nobody has any proof of that. In fact, the only proof was that the 400 years after Jesus Christ, the mother of the king had a dream that he was born there, and that was accepted. So there was a temple. The faith is that Ram was born there, and therefore there are many, many, many Ram temples all over the country. But why we insisted on this particular place is because this is where Ram was born, and therefore they were deliberately it was demolished and a masjid was built, and that has been proved by the Archaeological Survey of India. And so this historicity is very important to know. Otherwise, it looks as if, well, we are now Hindus are in overwhelming majority, so and in power, so therefore we can do anything to any masjid. No, it is in because of this background. So don't you think that your advocacy, the historicity is not important, is I think a bit extreme?
Mm, Actually, sir, I did not write I did not write in that context. I thought like historicity, like many of the people quote Awadh Vilasa or something like that, where they say that Lord Ram was born there. But I have not means by history I meant that the documents that they are quoting for the proof that Lord Ram was born there, like even where was born, that also like we there is no proof of that. How can you prove how
No, no,
Akbar
but
was born?
in the entire arguments in the Ram Janmabhoomi matter, nobody argued that Ram was born there, because the dispute started in the Allahabad High Court on who owns that area.
Correct, sir.
The trustees, it was a property dispute, and
Title
therefore
dispute.
it was taking so much time. And what I came and said is, I am not giving you proof, but I am telling you this is the faith of the people,
Correct, sir.
and faith you cannot reject. And therefore, that is the argument which the Supreme Court accepted. Till I
Yes,
came, there was no argument by which one can say that whether the masjid was there before or the temple was there before, all this is irrelevant. What is relevant is, was Ram born there according to the faith of the people? And that was something that on this there was no dispute. Okay, now let me ask you a second question. You just mentioned about Darashiko. I know Darashiko was, a great scholar of Sanskrit. He translated Bhagavad Gita into Persian and so many things. And Aurangzeb especially hated him because he did all that. So that's a point which should be mentioned. But why is
not
it
only
that? What?
not only
Yes.
Aurangzeb, many of the fanatic people who support this thing, the tyranny over Hindus, they also say that
Yes,
Dharaj Muslim.
I'm coming to it. I'm just saying that why is it that in Akbar's time he did not say, yes, there was a Ram temple here, Many people believe it, so I'm handing it over because a mosque can be shifted. Everybody knows that a mosque can be demolished, it can be shifted. It's only a place to read namaz. It's not a religious place. It's a place for religious congregation, but it's not a religious place in the sense that Muhammad was there, or Muhammad, like in Makkah and Medina. There's a direct connection with Muhammad. But here it's just a place to pray. And you know that namaz can be read anywhere, including on the road, on the railway platform. And now I think someplace they have opened a place for reading in the airport, which is that Jharkhand, where the
Yeah.
Patna, the Ranchi airport or something, they have created a place for reading namaz. So therefore, if you are saying that Akbar was liberal, then why he did not decree that this area should be vacated and the Hindus should be given back the Ram temple, a place to build a Ram temple? Now,
So
that is a thing that would be squarely a matter for your book, because you say you have to go into the question, why was it built? You say Babri Masjid was built or not is not the issue. The question is, why was it built? We know why it was built. So it was to humiliate the Hindus that it was built. Now I'm asking the question that if you call any emperor of the Mughal period as liberal, then why he did not say return this area and give it back to the Hindus to build the Ram temple? So this modification I'm a little worried about because of this reason. And otherwise, you just tell me why it took so long for us to get back the Ram Janmabhoomi. I mean, British I can understand. They wanted to create problems. They even in their judgments they said, yes, this is a place where Ram was born. This is what people think. But so many centuries have passed now. We can't do it, and all their judgments like that. But in none of the Mughals, any of them, of course, Dara Shikoh, I don't blame him, because Dara Shikoh was never emperor. Aurangzeb killed him before he could become an emperor. If he had become, maybe the Hindu-Muslim relationship would have been totally different. The history would have been different. But generally speaking, I would say that it is a tribute to the Hindus that they waited such a long time and bore all the atrocities that took place, and therefore to say that some Mughal emperor was liberal, in my opinion, is stretching that definition too much. Do you have any comment on that?
yes, sir. Actually, like Akbar was liberal because of political reasons. Like his commander.
Yeah, he employed Hindus, I know that.
Mansingh.
But on Ram Mandir, he never said a word.
He used actually like Mansingh conquered whole of India for him. Even like when he was scared to go and cross the Attak, Akbar wrote a couplet for him that "Sari dunya Krishna ki, isto kahe ki Attak." He used the religion for promoting him to go beyond Attak and fight against Afghans and win, win that area. Actually, whole of
Yes,
India was won by Ram Mansingh and gifted to Akbar because
yes.
he, like a politician. A politician is very sweet with the words, and like people will say that he's a very good guy,
Uh,
and
well, not all the politicians have sweet words, but
but
when you have
like
to be
how
blunt, you have to be blunt.
yeah,
Yes.
but how to fool the people that before the elections they'll say that oh I'll do this, I'll do that, well and like and once they get the power, then
Uh,
the game starts.
oh, okay, let me ask you in that then connection another question. I have a list of 40,000 temples which were demolished. Now I ask you, should all the 40,000 be returned? I can tell you what RSS and Vishnu Parishad and people like me have said. We only want three: Krishna Janmabhoomi, Ram Janmabhoomi, and Kashi Vishwanath. The reason is that Ram Janmabhoomi, the Ram was born there. There's no other place in the whole country that people of India think that Ram was born. No, there's no dispute on that. He was only born in one place, so that has to be returned. Krishna Janmabhoomi, Krishna was born there, so therefore it has to be returned for building of Krishna. Of course, Masjid can be built, but somewhere else. Like we have now resolved in the case of Ram Janmabhoomi. Then the Kashi Vishwanath, it is Lord Shiva himself sent the Jyotirling. And therefore, unlike there are about 12 places in India where he had implanted sending in a ball of fire the Jyotirling. Somnath, of course, has been recovered already. And the only other place which has not been recovered yet is the Kashi Vishwanath, temple, the Gyanvyapi, as it's called. So today's Hindus only want three places of that 40,000, because if some Ram temple is broken somewhere else in, say, in Karnataka, it can be rebuilt. But in the case of birthplace, you can't replicate it. So would you say that this is something which is a very reasonable demand for the Hindus, and that if you are truly liberal, the Muslims should come forward and say, yes, these three we are willing to give up because they are special, and the others, of course, you can build a temple somewhere else. Well, what do you think is a way to solve this problem without a dispute arising and violence taking place?
Actually, sir, I don't have any political backing, so I should not comment on this.
No, I'm asking you as a Hindu. I'm asking you as a Hindu, not as a political man. These are three places which I say are very special, and they have built a masjid on it. One has been resolved by the Supreme Court. The others, why should they have to go to court again? Don't you think you should also lend your voice to say that the Muslims should volunteer to give up Mathura and Kashi Vishwanath?
Okay. I want to quote a farman by Shah Jahan written on the recommendation of Dara Shikoh. Here he says, Shahzada Sultan Aurangzeb Bahadur has constructed in that place a mihrab, prayer arches, and had given it in the name of mosque. Allah Abdul Hakim has represented to His Majesty that this building, by reason of it being the property of another person, could not be considered a mosque according to inviolable Islamic law. A world obeyed order court obtained the honor of being issued that this building is the property of Satidas, and that the cause of the mihrab which the famous prince has made in that place, the above mentioned person should not be harassed. So, according to Islamic law, you cannot take a property from someone and
Correct. In fact, you see, when in 1991, when I was minister and Chandrasekhar was prime minister, he asked me, why don't you talk to your friend Shahabuddin and find a solution by discussion? So Shahabuddin had said this, that no Muslim can ever accept that a religious place of another religion, on that you build a mosque. You can demolish it, but you can't build a mosque on it. And because you are not allowed to, according to Islamic law, the Quran, to build a mosque on a place where there was a religious building of another religion. So that part is true. But in the case of Aurangzeb, what he said was, I'm not talking about Aurangzeb in Mathura, same argument. But in the case of Kashi Vishwanath, twice it was demolished and twice it was rebuilt by the Hindus. Then when Aurangzeb came, he said, never again it should be rebuilt. So you build a masjid on the place where the Kashi Vishwanath Mandir was and the Jyotirling was. So that was a violation of Islamic. I agree with you. The Islamic principle is don't build a mosque on where another religion's monument was there. So, but here in this Kashi Vishwanath, they have done it. And you can see the part of the temple even today. If you go to Kashi Vishwanath, you will see the part of the temple there on which the mosque is built. And it is
Yes.
the part of the temple is used as part of the mosque. So this is a fact. Anyway, I've taken up a lot of your time. My other colleagues, who I'm sure, want to ask you some questions. But the thing is,
Sir, I want to point one thing.
you please pursue this because you have got some new ideas. The reason we invited you is we read the book and we came to conclusion this is different from other books, and you have approached it differently. But it should be now made more tight. You must say question this and answer this, question this and answer this in that kind of paragraphing. You should produce another book about these three places which I talked about, whether the Muslim community should themselves come forward and say, of course, Ram Janmabhoomi is resolved by the court. So these other two, instead of again going through a long litigation, whether the Muslims should, in the larger interest of India and in the Muslim unity, themselves come forward and say it is wrong to build a masjid on top of place where there was a monument of an or a building of another religion, and therefore both in Krishna Janmabhoomi and in Kashi Vishwanath, we vacated. You give us another place to build a masjid. Uh, that kind of propagation needs to be done, but I don't know. It's up to you. You are an independent thinker, but the fact is that this clarity must come with the Muslims of India. Yes, Jagdish.
या मिस्टर वर्मा जी, मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है, थोड़े हमारे जो हिंदी भाषी व्यूअर्स है वो जानना चाहते हैं कि आप एक आईटी इंजीनियर हो, आपने ये कैसा रुचि रखा कि हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट पे आप किताबें लिखने लगे? व्हाट इंस्पायर्ड यू टू राइट सच बुक्स ऑन हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट्स? सो सम ऑफ आवर व्यूअर्स ये जानना चाहते हैं कि आप आईटी बैकग्राउंड होने के बावजूद आप राइटिंग और हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट्स को एग्जामिन करने लगे.
Actually, I read so many history books, and I thought that it is full of negativity. So, like, I think there is no English author who has written to counter that negativity. So I started writing first the book on Third Battle of Panipat. If you read the version that was available on Wikipedia or other, that was Sanjay Khan directed this thing. Third Battle of Panipat. I should speak English or Hindi. Whichever is. Jagdish.
Yes. So he's explained. Do you have any other question, Jagdish? और कोई सवाल है आपके पास?
Another thing, Verma ji, we want to know that you have also concentrated a lot on the Maratha history. Was there any specific reason that you chose the Maratha period, especially the Third Battle of Panipat, then Marathas, warriors of Panipat, and from Sambhaji to Aurangzeb and Bal Thackeray? What was this special thing about Maratha history which attracted you to examine this subject? Because we are keen to know what inspired you.
Actually, if you see the resistance offered by the Hindus to the Mughals, the Marathas offered resistance like anything. There was one guy, Santaji Ghorpade. He almost ran to the tent where Aurangzeb's tent. Almost attacked him. Fortunately, Aurangzeb was not sleeping at that time in his tent. There are multiple stories like that. Shivaji was like he is like Hindu, the greatest icon of Hinduism. And apart from Shivaji, all other Maratha Sardars, even some of this Shah Alam. Shah Alam used to take shelter under Mahaji Scindia. So
Yeah.
and these people are ignored in our history books. And so like I try to put these things on my book. And Sanjay Khan's serial The Great Marathas that I saw, it was also showing the Marathas as very negative people who always got defeated, all these things. So I try to put these things.
Okay.
Okay. We would like to know whether you are working on any other projects after this book is being released, that is the Ram Janmabhoomi book. Are you been working on any other project of similar nature?
Yes, I am writing a book on Hindu resistance to Sultanate period, because Sultanate period was a very dark period. So and like lot of glorifications has been done of the sultans, but the fact is not like that. Many of the Hindu Rajputs and other caste Kshatriyas, they have given a very tough resistance to other
Yeah.
people. Like I have noted it down in my this book about Firoz Shah Tughlaq, who was given a very strong resistance in Jaunpur, and that is not quoted in any of the right wing, left wing, any. So
Correct.
I
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
totally
Correct.
ignored, sir.
Yeah, I agree.
That
I think the whole history book, all the history books have to be rewritten. They were written by the British to suit their
yes,
interests of putting
they
Indians
had a
down.
reason for that, because the Marathas gave them very tough opposition to the English, and then the revolutionaries also, they used to supply them with money and all these things.
Right.
Savarkar and
Right.
also Gaikwads, they used to supply a lot of money. Aurobindo was supported by Gaikwad, so they were
Yes.
very anti. And
No, even Kashi Vishwanath, the last one was built by Rani of Holkar,
yeah,
who had
many
come
places.
over.
Somnath also she has built in Gaya also, like more than in Ayodhya also she has built few temples. Most of the
Yeah.
temples will be built in Ahilyabai only.
Okay,
Okay, Jagdish.
I think with this we come to the end of a very interesting session on the project of rewriting of the correct history, which is one of our main 5 points out of the 5 points of Virat Hindustan Sangam. Correcting the projecting the correct history of India is something which Virat Hindustan Sangam and Dr. Swamy has been campaigning for, and Abbas Verma's book, which was released today, is a step in the right direction. I thank Dr. Swamy for releasing the book, and I thank the author Abbas Verma for his valuable insight and congratulate him for having written this book and his past various books on interesting historical subjects. I also have to thank my co-host Ramesh Swamy and also the Virat Hindustan Sangam social media team led by Ashish Shetty, Vishal Mehta, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Rakesh Gadgi, and Vijendra Shetty for the support they have lent us. Also, our friend from Pune is Tejas Navalgul, who has been all in the background helping us take all these programs. As you know, today was the 126th episode of our Sunday Gyan Ganga or Words of Wisdom. We will be back on next Sunday with another interesting subject with another important guest. So till then, I thank our viewers across the globe, and many people have been asking us how do they join this movement led by Dr. Swamy of Virat Hindustan Sangam. So I request them, as you see the scroll going on your screen, our website is www.vhsindia.org. You can visit our website and you can always register yourself as members of Virat Hindustan Sangam. We are available on numerous social media channels, and you can always watch our show on YouTube, Facebook, and other media of social media, as we are expanding and to different.
Jagdishji, you have muted yourself. You have muted yourself. Yeah, we are not able to unmute you. You have to unmute. No, again.
So
Yeah,
I
well.
thank all our viewers for their support, and I thank our team for putting this program together. Thank you, Jai Hind, and Dhanyavad.
Yes. Thank you very much.